We got to hustle. We're down to the wire. So if we're in a 400-meter race, right, you better run track or anything. If you're in a race, where do most people win the race at? The last leg. Why?
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
Now, if I want to be successful, I'm going to have to work weekends, right? Like something I was very frustrated this last weekend. We got somebody calls in a weekend, but I can't get anybody to take, an appointment. I'm not here to beat up on that, but like it's frustrating because 33% of homes are bought on the weekends. This is bare minimum work days here, right? So what does that mean? What's that? We got to hustle. We're down to the wire. So if we're in a 400-meter race, right, you better run track or anything. If you're in a race, where do most people win the race at? The last leg. Why?
Because that's when they focus in and just homing in and just push.
It's always the mental fortitude. At the end, it doesn't come down to the physicality in most cases. Now, if you have one person who's like a freak that obviously smokes everyone, that does happen in some cases. But most of the time, they're very close. And what do you usually see happen at the end? One guy or one girl pulls away at the end, and they tend to win that race, right? It all comes down to the mental fortitude, which happens in the last really 50 to 25 meters. So if we have an analogy right now in the 400-meter race, we're in the last 25 meters. Are you guys with me on this? And so who wins this year and who starts 2025 on the right track are going to be the ones who have the mental fortitude to make sure that we can really get dialed in for the last 30 days and make some decisions. And so step one, there'll be four main things. Number one, I want you to get some clarity on what your targets are between now and the end of the year. Meaning, I'm going to have a ton of distractions coming up. And so I need to make sure as distractions come up that I'm very, very clear on what my commitments are. When?
Now.
Before the distraction comes. Are you guys with me on that? Because as the distraction comes, what tends to change? My feelings. And so if I base my decision based on feelings instead of my commitments, I'll be less likely to make sure I follow through what I wanted to do. Now, the biggest natural ones are the ones that come every single year, which is what? Thanksgiving, Christmas. Now, what do most people tend to do? They waste 2 whole months for 2 days. It drives me crazy as a real estate agent to see that. There's massive opportunity. This is where I'm really able to capture up. Now, it does mean I can enjoy this time and enjoy that season, but I'm just telling you, doing this for 20 years, what makes or breaks it is how easily you are distracted from your target. If I'm very committed to what my target is, I have non-negotiables, I'm able to enjoy both and have fulfillment and have results. So, how many days? Minimum. Right, it's a minimum standard here. So I'll write A. Days worked by end of year. Between now and end of the year. Why? So that when that distraction comes up, what am I able to do?
Hold yourself accountable.
Hold myself accountable. Go right back to what my minimum commitment was. To my family, to myself, to my 2025 version of me, which already that momentum has already started. Second thing, number B, we'll call it B. How many hours am I committed to prospecting and lead follow-up to the end of the year? Now, that's hard to calculate, right? Not really. We have a standard here, which is a minimum of 2 to 3 hours a day, lead follow-up every single day, right? 9 to 12, how you want to do it. Minimum 9 to 11, right? Whatever it is, 10 to 12. It's at least 2 hours a day. Potentially, we like to be at 3 hours a day prospecting every single day. Now, why is that important? This is what helps me dictate and drive my calendar so that I can make sure this part gets done first during that time period. You guys with me on that? On the listing side, guess what? Maybe a little bit less appointments in that time, so I'm going to use that to make sure I'm committed to calling everyone that's ever been in my bucket the last 6-8 months. Right? Buyer side, guess what? There's people going to say, well, I'm waiting for the end of the first of the year. I'm going to go through every single person there to make sure I can figure out who my buyers are at the first of the year, and I'm sifting for gold, trying to figure out who's going to buy between now and the end of the year so I can capture them as well. And I'm going to call my past clients to make sure that I can connect with them through that period in order to do so. It's very valuable in this next 2 months because what's the most emotional purchase that anyone ever makes? A home purchase. What's the most emotional time of the year for anyone in life, pretty much?
Holidays.
The holidays. So do you see the correlation there? So, second piece, right? How many hours am I committed to prospecting and lead follow-up through the end of the year? You guys got that part? C, we'll call it number 3 or C. Identify the number of appointments you will go on by end of the year. You can write buyer and seller. What's your target, minimum standard, by number of appointments, by end of year. Don't be too conservative in your numbers, right? You want to make sure at least push them for 1 a day minimum. In many cases, you can have some for 2, but have the math on that. But I want you guys to have a simple target in mind of how many appointments you're going to have and go on. Why is that? Because it's going to make you make the extra dials. If you know you're ahead of your numbers or behind your numbers, you're going to make sure I stick here a little longer and push for the appointment. If I'm a listing person, right, I'm going to look through my people and say, hey, look, who can I squeeze out that's a rebook, that miss, that no-show, that no sign I can get back to face with, right? That's something that's very, very important as well. D, how many buyer agreements or listing agreements am I going to have signed by end of year? I want you guys to have this so you can have this clarity of numbers. That clarity helps bring power when I'm in the face of distraction, the face of chaos. The last one's E. What do you think it is? Yep. How many bells, or you can call it escrows, am I going to have by end of year? What's my minimum standard, my minimum commitment of what I'm going to have and need to have by end of year? And say, this is my commitment to me and my family for my production now to the end of the year. I refuse for you not to have clarity between now and the end of the year. I want you to have it so that when you don't feel like it, or when you have that desire to do something else, or it gets a little cold, whatever it is, that you say, look, I know I'm committed to doing this amount. I'm going to honor my word, right? Honor my commitment to what it is, which is super important.